If I could wish anything for someone other than getting to do work you love, it would be that you'd get to travel the world solo. Solo travel is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. And in this video, you're going to learn how to prepare for your first solo trip. Hey guys, it's Anita. Welcome back to my channel. Can we do a quick real talk? This is my 7th video filmed on this Saturday, which is the most I will have ever done, and I feel like a champion. But I might stumble on my words more because I have been talking for a long time. But no, I take that back. This one is going to be epic. So I love solo travel. I started traveling on my own because honestly, I didn't really know anyone who wanted to travel as ambitiously as I wanted to. And once I started and I realized that you're going to meet travelers on the road, I didn't need to invite any friends with me. I would just go and have this incredible time. And I always wished that more of my friends back home would get to travel. So whenever I get a chance to tell people about travel, how easy and amazing it is, I'm all for it. So consider this the equivalent of going out for a coffee date with me, where I just get to share all of my travel advice with you. You can ask me any questions you want, which you can in the comments below, and I'll make other videos talking about this. And here we go. So as we sit down with our chai lattes, usually people ask me, how did I get started and where have I been? I've been to 34 to 36 countries. I honestly need to count. I promise in future videos I'll count so I can stop saying this. I really started traveling on my own when I was 20. And the first thing I did was I went to Italy to teach English. And that was the first time that I met other 20-somethings who didn't care at all about the rat race. And it just blew my world open and I was never the same again. And I constantly wanted more of travel because I just found that the experience that I had enriched my life so much. And the people that I met were just so different and had so much more life than them than the people I usually meet in the city. There was just something about travel and the people I met that gave me so much life, and I was constantly pursuing it and wanting more of it. 99% of my travels have been done on my own because it's usually I dream up something and then I want to go and make it happen, and I do. And there are times where I'll meet up with people in the location that I go to, but it's almost always like I'm never leaving Toronto with someone. I'm always going on my own, and I really encourage you to just consider it. You don't need friends to travel. There's a lot of incredible travelers in the world, and once you start, you'll meet other solo travelers. It's also easier to meet travelers when you're traveling on your own, and you're going to have an awesome time. Okay, so the first thing to do to prepare yourself for solo travel is to devour all of the inspiration and information that you can. To go out on your own is actually quite a brave act, and you're going to need a lot of courage, and you can get it from people, from blogs, from everything. And the great thing is that travelers are generally a very generous bunch, because the way that all of us figure out how to travel is we ask people, we talk to fellow travelers, and travelers are usually so full of passion that we want to share. Like, if I was in Africa and I wanted to know how to get to Zimbabwe, I could just talk to someone and find out how. If I'm in Toronto and I'm like, how do I travel in Zimbabwe? I'm probably not going to find someone. I might, but it's unlikely that I'll find someone in my immediate circle that can tell me how. But if I go online, I'll find tons of blogs. So even to this day, I love learning different ways that people have traveled. I've personally traveled and paid for my travels dozens of different ways. And on top of that, there are still hundreds other ways that other people have paid for their travels. So the more that you learn, the more you're just going to be filled with courage and inspiration, knowing that honestly, the other people who travel, they're just like you. They just made a decision to try and to go for it, and you can too. The next thing to do is to brainstorm/soul storm what it is you actually want to do on your travels and where you want to go. There is totally a spiritual aspect to travel, which is why I say soul storm. Like, spend some time with your brain and with your soul and feel out, what is it that you actually want to do in your travels? Do you want to teach English, or do you actually just want to backpack endlessly for a couple of months? What is it that you want to do? How do you feel like you're going to grow the most, and where do you want to go? When I pick where I'm going to go next, it's actually a very intuitive thing. I don't necessarily do a lot of research. Sometimes it just comes through word of mouth. Someone will mention something to me like, oh, that's what you're interested in? You should go check out there. Like when I was really interested in intentional communities and awakened communities, someone said, oh, you should go to Portugal. There's a lot of people buying up land in the backcountry and there's communities there. So that just kind of stuck with me, and then I ended up looking up a place, contacting them, and then I got to go and work there. So brainstorm for yourself, what are the different ways that you want to travel? Depending on your life stage, whether you're a student, working, or working with family, that might alter what you can do or what you want to do, but like the world is still your oyster, you still get to pick. So it's important to spend that time with yourself and with the things that inspire you and figure out, maybe you want to travel with your daughter, maybe you want to travel alone. You get to pick, and this is the exciting thing about even considering solo travel, right? You can literally go anywhere. Even if your husband is like, oh, that's dangerous, you shouldn't go, you can still go if you want to. I've gone to lots of places where people are like, oh, that's dangerous, and it's fine. I feel like it's more dangerous commuting to work every day in the city of Toronto. So have no fear, know that some other solo traveler has already gone before where you want to go. All you have to do is Google it, and you can literally go anywhere. So just begin to figure out for yourself what it is that you want. The next thing to do is to narrow down your choices. Once you've devoured a lot of inspiration, you'll have tons of ideas for how to travel. And you'll start to get a feel for what it is you want to do. Maybe you want to go abroad for an extended period of time. Maybe you want to buy a van and drive across America. Whatever that is, actually consciously start narrowing down the choices. This is how you take a dream into a real life plan that you get to live. And narrow it down to your top 3 different things that you'd want to do. And then the next thing is to start planning it. Now, this is where you do not need to freak out and be like, I can't do this, I don't have the money. Start thinking of, how could I do this? Instead of why can't I do it, think of how can I do this? Do you need to save up? Do you need to wait till the next year to use your vacation days? Do you want to save up and then quit your job and travel long term? There are honestly so many different ways, and everywhere you look online, you're going to find someone who has done one of those versions. Even I myself have done different versions. I've traveled while running a business. I've traveled while doing work exchanges and working with other retreat centers. I've traveled and worked on a cruise ship. And then right now I'm doing a more conventional thing, working in the city and traveling using my time off. What I recommend is that you pick the thing that is the simplest to get started. If this is really your first solo travel, you probably don't want to just quit your job and travel for 8 months straight. You could, and if you do that, please tell me, because I applaud you. That takes a lot of courage. But even before you do that, I highly recommend you just use your vacation days and go for a 1-week trip to the area that you want to travel in. And even just dipping your toe into travels is going to help you get a feel for it. So this is where I want you to put your planner hat on and actually imagine where you want to go, what you want to do. And I'm also here going to say that if you're going to do your first solo trip, I do not recommend doing it with a travel company. I know that not everyone will agree, but the thing is, if you're going to do your first solo trip with a travel company, the kind of stuff where you're traveling in a group, then what's the point in traveling on your own? Because you're not traveling on your own. You're probably going to end up meeting, especially if it's a company that's like locally based, then you're going to be traveling with a bunch of the same kind of people going to the same location. That's why I don't like all-inclusive vacations, and personally, I don't consider that travel in my books, because I'm not actually getting to experience another culture or to grow. I'm like going in a place with a bunch of Canadians to another hotel in another place with a bunch of Canadians. So for your first solo travels, this is a beautiful thing. You get to be adventurous and as bold as you want to. So as you start planning it, you're going to start figuring out what works. Maybe you do have a big vision of traveling for 8 months straight. But right now, can you book off 10 days and just go to Thailand for those 10 days? And that, my friend, is your first solo trip planned. Take as much time as you want to hone in on all the details of your plan, but always keep in mind that the reality is, once you get on the road, there are going to be tons of things that happen that you can't plan for. And that's actually what you want. You want to meet people that you couldn't have guessed. You want to meet people that you wouldn't have imagined. You want to have experiences that you can't plan. If you want a planned trip, that's another beast altogether. This is about solo travel and going for adventure. And once you've got more of your plan set, you know what you want to do, you've got your way to travel, it's time to book the ticket. It's time to just start, book that Airbnb, book that ticket, whatever it is, you just start making it happen. This last step of actually booking your tickets and making the trip a reality is what I think a lot of people miss out on. They just dream of travel and they look at all these Instagram accounts, but they forget that even the Instagram accounts are run by people who had dreams and just turned them into their reality. So you can do that too. So there are obviously other logistical details like what to pack, how to stay safe in the country that you're going to. But as you work through this process, you're going to gather tons of inspiration. And feel free to do as much research as you want. If you don't want to do any research and you just want to be the type that books a flight, books a couple nights at a hostel, and then goes for it, you can do that too. Because I have traveled like that many times before as well. The key though is that you're doing it. Just fill yourself with so much inspiration, know that you're going to have an incredible experience, and I can't wait to hear about it. So if you guys found this video helpful, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions specifically related to solo travel or how to travel the world, leave them as well. I'm more than happy to make a video about them. I love sharing travel advice and tips because it's just something that has enriched my life so much. If you want to stay connected to behind the scenes of my creative journey, be sure to join me on Instagram at Anita Wing-Lee. And of course, you can always subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.